When Elgato brought out the face cam, out of the blue, it was just at the very moment I'd given up on expensive webcams and done my own thing. Well, good job history didn't repeat itself after I spent ages finally setting up a teleprompter I was happy with. Oh. Okay, to be fair, it wasn't out of the blue. We've known about this for a few months now. But would I have been better off waiting for the Elgato Prompter rather than going with my own MacGyvered solution? First things first, full disclosure. This isn't the Elgato Prompter. Hopefully, obviously. I don't own one. They haven't sent me one. I mean, if you'd like to Elgato, then hi. I guess I'll get to the back of the very long queue that's forming. But I also want to make sure this isn't a video bashing the new Elgato Prompter. In fact, quite the opposite, if anything. I just enjoy experimenting and seeing what can be done on a budget, as you'll know if you're an existing follower of the channel or my streams on Twitch. And it all started in 2020 when I got the idea to build my own pop-up YouTube studio. I bought a load of stuff, but most of it's either ended up in storage or ended up here, in front of me, as part of my streaming setup for Twitch. This cute mini teleprompter, I talked about how it had inspired me to start writing scripts, how it had changed my life. And after that video, I never used it again. Why? Because introducing all this new tech without knowing what I was doing or having a clear direction meant I'd also introduced a load of faff. And faff in content creation, especially for someone with limited free time who's doing it as a hobby, means stuff just doesn't get done. I remember one time spending hours setting all this up, and by the time I'd got the lighting right, the batteries for the lights ran out, so I had to wait for them to charge, and then I got all my footage, brought it down here to the PC to edit it, and discovered that the exposure was all wrong. Plus I had missing bits of footage, but I'd packed away the studio already. So yeah, faff. The first game changer was starting to make YouTube videos here, actually, at my PC, using my streaming setup. So much easier. I could do a piece to camera, record it through OBS directly to the PC, remix it, drop it straight into the video editor. If I flubbed something, I could just do it again. Missed out something I meant to say? No problem. All the tech was still here, still set up, all ready to go. I've done a few YouTube videos like this, actually, and it's been great. So then I thought, well, could I be using this mini teleprompter as part of this setup too? Could it be for YouTube videos? Could it even be just a fancy Twitch chat monitor, just so that it's not going to waste? So I did try. It came with a load of screws and a mounting bracket, and I tried all sorts of tripods. It came with a free remote control. You know, I can't knock it. But ultimately, that was junky at best. Also, it's designed to be used with a phone. There's not really room for anything bigger in there, like a tablet. There's lots of great free apps out there, teleprompter apps. I was using one called Elegant Teleprompter on Android, but the problem is it's faff again. If you decide there's something wrong with your script and you want to change it, you have to take the phone off the teleprompter, you have to take it out of teleprompting mode, you have to scroll back through, you have to use thumb typing to try and correct the script instead of a proper keyboard, and then you put it back on and oh no, you've knocked the teleprompter, and the teleprompter's attached to the camera, and so now the camera angle's off. Faff. What I really wanted was to be able to be sat here in front of my PC typing a script, drag it over to the prompter, do a piece to camera, something went wrong, drag it back over to the main monitor, or even retype it on the fly. So I found an app called Space Desk that let me mirror my screen over Wi-Fi onto my phone, and again that sort of worked-ish, but it was sluggish and it wasn't at the native resolution of the phone, so the text was a bit distorted. And there's also the fact that while my phone is being a glorified monitor, it's not being a phone, nor is it being a camera. At the time I didn't have the Sony mirrorless camera that I'm using now as my main camera for stream and for the YouTube videos, so I basically lost my best camera as well if I wanted to have it as a teleprompter instead. I did dig out my old Android phone and try to use that as a teleprompter monitor, but it just wasn't having any of it. It was too slow, and I think one of the apps, if not both of them, I don't know if it even recognised them. It was just too old an Android version. So I thought, right, let's get an actual mini monitor. I can have my phone back, except physics. You can't just buy any old mini monitor. The teleprompter is a mirror. That means if you want your text to be the right way around on the teleprompter, you have to flip it the wrong way around first before it bounces off the teleprompter glass. There's some plugins that let you do this for websites in your web browser, but again, that's faff and it's a bit hit or miss. There were bits of software I found that promised all sorts, but again, hit or miss. I think some of them were even like Windows 7 or earlier, and so they hadn't been updated in a while. And I was also thinking, hang on, I know that there are mini monitors that can do this internally, like on a hardware level. Like you can just press the buttons on them and flip and rotate the image that's coming in. I did have a look, and yeah, they definitely do exist. They're called field monitors. They're professional bits of video equipment, and as such, they come with the price tag you'd expect for professional bits of video equipment. And then I had a penny drop moment. My mind went back to 2020, where I bought a vehicle reversing camera to be a field monitor for my camcorder. I thought, that's it. That was a small one. I just need to get a bigger one and fit that to the teleprompter. So I went on eBay. I got this secondhand. It's upside down. But the teleprompter was designed for a phone, not even something as big as a tablet. And yeah, this just wouldn't fit. So then I started looking for other teleprompters, which somewhat defeated the object of repurposing the mini teleprompter I already had. So that's how we ended up here with this one from Desview, which actually is designed for a tablet, but I'll come back to that in a minute. In the meantime, whilst I did get an acceptable image out of this monitor, again, faff. No standard DC jack on it, so I had to kind of MacGyver my own up. I had to get some gadgetry to convert HDMI to composite RCA to get it to work on here, and this just looks, I mean, this all had to somehow fit on my desk and behind the teleprompter, and it just looked a mess. I'm sure I could have got it to work, but there's got to be an easier way. And then, by pure chance, I went back to look on Lilliput's website. Now, Lilliput are the people who made those professional-grade field monitors I talked about earlier, which are normally expensive. And, you know, they are worth that amount because they're professional-grade field monitors. They're not for some hobbyist like me to be mucking about with a teleprompter necessarily. But they had a clearance sale on 7-inch monitors, which were HDMI, did all the flipping and rotating in the hardware, and they were £12. £12! I paid like 40 quid for this. So I bought like 3 of them. All I had to do now was work out how to mount the mini monitor to my teleprompter, which is really designed for a thin tablet, not a chunky mini monitor, and how to mount the teleprompter to the camera in a secure way to my desk. Easy, right? No. That took me months of headaches and buying more stuff that didn't quite work. So that's really the crux of this video. If you made it this far through my waffle, well done. It's nearly the end. Elgato, just hold on. Hold on a second. I'm getting to the point. If I add up the cost of the mini teleprompter that never got used, the lens adapter ring that didn't work because the teleprompter was too heavy for the camera lens to move in and out with it mounted on the lens itself, the fact I then had to buy a rail rod system, extra clamps for the rail rod system, the magic arm that I bought that was too long and couldn't support the weight of the camera and the rail rod system and the teleprompter, so it kept slumping, so I had to buy shorter magic arms, and then I ended up needing 2 of them to get it to hold, and then I had to bodge something to hold the mini monitor on to the teleprompter because it was too big to fit even the tablet mount on the new teleprompter, although the tablet mount then ended up being the perfect bodge to use to prop up the mini monitor to the right angle. And the point I'm trying to make is, long story short, we're not actually far off the launch cost of the Elgato Prompter. And actually, remember I said I got these monitors on clearance? Well, if I had to buy the equivalent full price, we can add an extra 0 onto that, so the Elgato Prompter would actually be cheaper. And you can mount the whole thing with a camera on an Elgato arm without it slumping. And then you can move said arm without undoing all the screws and clamps and propping it up with your elbows. Sometimes you can do it cheaper and just as good on a budget. In this case, not so much. What I do like is that Elgato have converged on exactly what I wanted, and which I do have now, albeit a bit naff, which is the ability to drag and drop anything I want onto this teleprompter and have it act just like an extra monitor. It's taken me all this time and all these iterations to realise that's what I actually wanted all along. I just don't have the Elgato app ecosystem on this. don't.